very good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Thursday's edition of Quick Morning. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. The countdown has begun for Haryana polls. The BJP will be releasing its manifesto, tracking other stories as well. Let's get started. The central government has approved a one nation, one election after the proposal made by the committee led by former President Ramnath Kovind, aligning polls for both the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. The panel headed by the former President Ramnath Kovind has recommended amending the last 5 articles of the Constitution in order to enable the holding of simultaneous elections in the country. A bill over the one nation, one poll is likely to be introduced in the parliament during the upcoming winter session.
आज यूनियन कैबिनेट में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने एनडीए की सरकार ने वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन में जो हाई लेवल कमेटी की रिकमेंडेशंस थी उसको एक्सेप्ट किया है। हाई लेवल कमेटी रिकमेंडेशंस ऑन वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन ऑन साइमल्टेनियस इलेक्शंस दैट those recommendations have been accepted today by the union cabinet.
After the centre's nod to one nation, one poll, the Congress has come down heavily on the central government over the issue. The Grand Old Party has termed the one nation, one poll a cheap stunt by the BJP and termed it as impractical for the country. Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge said that, and I quote, that the BJP cannot find any issues and such things are being brought up to divert attention from the main issues. In fact, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan called one nation, one poll a hidden agenda to weaken India's federal system. Elections are just weeks away in Haryana and today the BJP will release its manifesto for the upcoming elections.
नहीं मानते ये नहीं चलने वाला है डेमोक्रेसी में। ये डेमोक्रेसी को टिकाना है तो जब जब चाहिए तब इलेक्शन करना पड़ेगा।
And the countdown has begun for the Haryana elections. Union Home Minister Amit Shah along with the BJP chief JP Nadda will visit the poll-bound state today and unveil the Saffron Party's election manifesto. In fact, along with the election manifesto release, Prime Minister Modi will also address mega public rallies in the state. One rally of the Prime Minister is scheduled to be held in Sonipat on September 26th. Another rally will also be organized in Hisar following the last rally in Palwal district on 2nd of October. Notably, the BJP is leaving no stone unturned to retain power in the state after suffering a significant electoral loss in the Lok Sabha polls when the party lost 5 out of 10 Lok Sabha seats to Congress party in the state. Sher-e-Kashmir Park ahead of the phase 2 of the J&K Assembly elections. This will be the first big rally of the BJP in Kashmir rally since the announcement of assembly elections. In fact, the BJP has fielded 19 candidates from Kashmir and left many seats after independent candidates. The security forces meanwhile remain on high alert ahead of Prime Minister's speech. Additional police forces as well as paramilitary forces have also been deployed in the city and its adjoining areas. 3-tier security will be placed around the venue along with deployment of snipers around the venue. In fact, it is pertinent to note that this is the third visit of the Prime Minister to Kashmir this year. Prime Minister had visited Kashmir in March and had addressed a mega rally that was followed by his the SKICC to attend yoga celebrations in June. In this elections, the BJP leaders are hopeful that Prime Minister's presence in the Kashmir Valley will make a big difference for the party. The central government has approved the expansion of the Chandrayaan mission, thus approving the 4th mission of the same. The cabinet also gave its nod for other missions, which included sending an orbiter to Venus, the second phase of the Gaganyaan missions, the development of the Indian space station and development of new generation of launch vehicles as well. Chandrayaan 3 note had recently achieved a milestone success by successfully landing on the rover of the moon. The goal of Chandrayaan 4 or lunar mission is going to be to develop technologies that will enable successful landing on the moon and a safe return to Earth. The development and launch of Chandrayaan 4 mission is under Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO. The expected time in which the mission is to be finished is 36 months.
Is to get the manned mission to moon. उसके लिए जो प्रिपरेटरी स्टेप्स होते हैं उन सारे प्रिपरेटरी स्टेप्स को आज अप्रूवल दिया गया और 2 सेपरेट स्पेसक्राफ्ट स्टैक्स लॉन्च किए जाएंगे लूनर सरफेस पे लैंड करना, उसके सैंपल्स लेना और वापस लेके आने का, ये सारा इस मिशन में ध्यान रखा जाएगा। और ये एक बहुत ही बड़ी ऐतिहासिक चीज़ है, क्योंकि मिशन लैंड करवाना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि थी। अब मिशन लैंड करने के बाद में चंद्रयान को रिटर्न करना, दैट इटसेल्फ विल बी अ वेरी बिग थिंग।
Now, the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has announced rate cuts by 50 basis points. In fact, this is the first interest rate cut in the US in 4 months. Let's take you through the details. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by half a percentage point, which is 50 basis points. This signals a shift towards easing monetary policy in the US amid concerns about job market's health and recession fears as well. Policymakers have expressed confidence that inflation is moving towards a 2% target range. In fact, the governor, however, dissented, preferring a smaller rate cut. The forecast additional rate reductions aiming for a benchmark range of 2.75% to 3% by 2026, while inflation remains elevated still. The decision reflects progress in managing it and a balance of risks regarding employment and prices. The Federal Reserve has projected a slight decline in inflation and an increase in unemployment alongside modest economic growth.
Our economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state. Inflation has eased substantially from a peak of 7% to an estimated 2.2%. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to reduce the degree of policy restraint by lowering our policy interest rate by a half percentage point.
Now, Federal Reserve Governor has become the first federal governor to dissent on an interest rate cut decision since 2005. Baumann has opposed a majority vote to cut rates by half a percentage point in favor of smaller quarter-point reduction. In fact, her dissent highlights a lack of consensus among the Fed's leadership at a critical juncture, with all other 11 voting members supporting a larger cut in the US. While the Fed typically seeks consensus to maintain credibility, Baumann's position reflects her history of advocating for tighter monetary policy and a lighter regulatory touch on banks. This dissent marks a rare instance of a governor advocating for tighter policy, the first such dissent in nearly 30 years in US. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has predicted India's continued dominance in global economic growth. The Finance Minister said that India is emerging as a leader in global economic growth with an expected growth rate of 6.5% to 7% for the current fiscal year, followed by an 8.2% growth in 2020. In the previous year, the Union Finance Minister emphasized the recent approval of the United Pension Scheme for government employees. The scheme aims to balance the needs of workers and taxpayers by preventing substantial pension liabilities for future generations as well. The Unified Pension Scheme will be effective starting 1st of April next year, and it guarantees a pension of 50% of the average basic pay before retirement, adjusted for inflation. Sitharaman also introduced the NPS, which is the Vatsalya scheme for children under 18 years, requiring a minimum annual contribution of 1,000 rupees with benefits starting at the age of 60. She reiterated the government's resolve to achieving the Prime Minister's vision of a developed nation, which is Viksit Bharat, by the year 2047. Net direct tax collection in India has increased by 16.12% to over 10 lakh crore rupees in the current fiscal year. This is driven by a higher advance tax collection. On the other hand, refunds issued surged by 56.49% to over 2 lakh rupees. Personal income tax collection has risen by over 19%, while corporate tax collection has grown by over 10%. Gross direct tax collection has reached 12 lakh crore rupees, which marks a 21.4% increase. Advance tax collection saw a significant rise of 22%, with the personal income tax growing by nearly 40% and corporate tax by 18%. The government aims to collect 22 lakh crore rupees in direct taxes this fiscal, which reflects a 13% increase over the previous year. Analysts have even noted that the strong growth in personal income tax indicates a robust economy. Amazon, meanwhile, has been raising pay for its US fulfillment and transportation staff by at least $1.5 an hour. This will increase base salaries to over $22 an hour and more than $29 an hour with benefits at a cost of over $2.2 billion. In fact, this move comes amid pressure from warehouse companies' employees for better contracts and working conditions, particularly after the Amazon Labor Union voted to affiliate with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. The pay hikes will begin this this month and are aimed at enhancing hiring retention ahead of a busy holiday season. Now, at least 15 people have died as a result of pager explosions that rocked Lebanon and Syria. That's one of the top global stories that we are tracking. More than 100 wildfires, in fact, this is the news that's coming in from São Pedro. Wildfires in Portugal that has stretched, engulfed northern Portugal on Wednesday. Thick grey smoke and a smell of burnt wood also reached some 85 kilometers across the border into northwest Spain. Portuguese Prime Minister has declared a state of calamity for the hardest hit areas. He also called on police investigators to redouble their efforts to find those who started the fires and pledge help for those who have lost their homes or have been evacuated. Spain's military sent 240 soldiers and vehicles from its emergency response battalions specialized in combating fires to its neighbor. 4 water dumping planes from France, 2 from Spain and 2 from Italy were deployed after answering an appeal to help their fellow EU member. Morocco likewise responded to a request by Portugal with 2 water dumping planes that arrived on Wednesday. Heavy rains followed by flash floods have devastated 56 townships in central regions of Myanmar, which includes several of the cities along the eastern state of Shan, Kaya and Kain. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, more than 6 lakh people have been affected as a result of heavy rains and floods across the country. In fact, according to Myanmar's state media, at least 226 people have died due to recent flooding and 77 people have gone missing in the country. Vice President Kamala Harris has issued a warning to Hispanic members of Congress about arch-rival and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's immigration plans if elected as a president. In fact, addressing a Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute conference, Vice President Kamala Harris slammed Trump's pledge to deport millions of people who are in the United States illegally. Former US President Donald Trump has even pledged to carry out largest mass deportations operation in history of the United States if he's elected in the month of November. Vice President Kamala Harris also blasted Trump's role in undoing national abortion rights.
And while we fight to move our nation forward to a brighter future, Donald Trump and his extremist allies will keep trying to pull us backward. We all remember what they did to tear families apart. And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be.
A day after hundreds of hand grenade pagers exploded across Lebanon almost simultaneously, the Iraqi government has sent a second shipment of medical supplies to Lebanon on Wednesday. The 8th shipment includes 15 tons of medical supplies and materials that are to be used for emergency operations in operating rooms. At least 12 people have been killed, including 2 children, and thousands have been wounded. The shipment is also being sent after Lebanon's health ministry said that 1 person was killed and over 100 were wounded by exploding electronic devices in multiple regions of the country. The campaigning for the Sri Lankan presidential elections has come to an end, and the people of Sri Lanka will now cast their votes on 21st of September. In fact, in 2022, Sri Lanka went through a huge financial crisis, which even resulted in economic collapse. Sri Lanka's opposition leader has said that if he wins in the elections, he will negotiate with the International Economic Monetary Fund Economic Forums for the reforms package to ensure that the rich residents pay more taxes and living conditions of the people improve in the country. The reforms were introduced after Sri Lanka defaulted on its foreign debt, plunging into an economic crisis. The presidential election on September 21st is being seen as a referendum on reforms initiated by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The results of the presidential elections will be announced on 22nd of September. The authorities in Peru have declared a state of emergency in 3 regions on the wildfires that killed at least 15 people and left and scorched more than 3,000 hectares of land. Peruvian president said that the fires were caused by human intervention, climate change and drought in the region. The authorities reported that more than 2 dozen forest fires have devastated some 3,000 hectares of crops and nature. According to civil defense, 15 people have died and almost 100 have been affected so far. And let's take a look at other stories that we are tracking. In fact, this is from the US, where John Kirby US official has emphasized that China will be a significant focus for the upcoming Quad meeting. He highlighted concerns over aggressive military action and unfair trade practices by People's Republic of China, further noting that the challenges are well recognized among Quad leaders and ensured that they will be central topics of discussion.
High on the agenda, John. I mean, there's not an opportunity when you get together with these particular leaders, the Indo-Pacific Quad, where you, in fact, it would be irresponsible if they didn't talk about the challenges that still exist in the region caused by aggressive PRC military action, for instance, unfair trade practices, tensions over the Taiwan Strait. I have no doubt that all those issues will come up.
A pipeline fire in a suburban Houston neighborhood continued to burn for third straight day with no timeline for its extinguishment or for residents' return after evacuations. The explosion occurred after an SUV drove through a fence and hit an above-ground valve. Authorities have even launched an investigation and are trying to ascertain the identity of the driver. They, however, ruled out any evidence suggesting a terror attack. One of the world's most active volcanoes has erupted again in a remote area of Hawaii, Volcanoes National Park. The authorities have denied any immediate threat to nearby homes or infrastructure. In fact, geologists studying the case observed fountaining eruptions and active lava flowing within the crater. Welcome back. You're watching Quick Morning. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's now take a look at the sports stories that we're tracking this Thursday morning. Breast held a training session on Wednesday ahead of the inaugural Champions League match against Sturm Graz, marking the debut in European competition. In fact, this season, the tournament features a revamped format with 36 teams and a league systems where each team plays 8 games, replacing the previous group stage. Brest displayed their best performance after finishing third in League One last season and are now set to make history with this match. Ahead of the Champions League, Barcelona trained for their opening match against Monaco. The tournament will feature a new format with 36 teams, with each team playing 8 games, replacing the traditional group stage. Barcelona has enjoyed a perfect start to the season under the guidance of the coach. The team has won all 5 of their La Liga matches. However, their star player Dani Olmo will miss the game due to a right hamstring injury, which he sustained during the recent 4-1 victory against Girona. Former US Open champion Marin Cilic secured his first tour victory of 2024. He defeated American Zachary Savajda in the first round of Hangzhou Open in China. In fact, the 35-year-old Croatian, who is a 20-time tour level champion, made his return to the ATP Tour after undergoing right knee surgery in the month of May. In other matches, Hungary's Fabian dominated Italy's Luca Nardi with a 6-0, 6-2 victory. Bangkok United began with their AFC Champions League 2 2024-25 campaign with a spectacular win. In fact, they registered a 4-2 victory over Singapore Stampede Rovers on Wednesday itself. The match featured an exciting back-to-back fourth. Bangkok took the lead twice before Tampines equalized each time. Ultimately, Richerio and Basil Girardi secured the win for the home team. Heavyweight world champion Alexander Usyk was briefly detained at an airport after protesting an airline's decision to deny boarding to his traveling companion. According to Ukraine President Zelensky, Usyk and his friend refused to leave the gate, leading to Usyk being handcuffed temporarily. He was later released. Zelensky even shared a photo of Usyk with Ukraine's Consulate General in Krakow. The 37-year-old was recently claimed that the WBC heavyweight title after defeating Tyson Fury in the month of May, adding to his existing WBA, IBF, WBO and IBO belts. Iconic Italian striker Salvatore passed away yesterday due to colon cancer. The iconic Italian striker was the first top scorer at the 1990 World Cup and scored 6 goals during the tournament by coming off the beach in Italy's opener and quickly becoming a national hero as well. He in fact earned Golden Boot and Golden Ball, the Italian Soccer Federation announced a minute of silence in his honor for all games this week. Tributes have only been pouring in for figures like Italian Premier Giorgio Meloni and clubs such as Juventus and Inter Milan. They celebrated his legacy as a passionate and tenacious player. A public viewing will also be held in Palermo before his funeral. And from sports to the world of entertainment, let's take a look at all that's making news from the world of glitz and glamour. Fresh show for Emmy winner Jane Smart will kick off for the 50th season of Saturday Night Live on September 28th. That would mark her debut as a host. She will be joined by musical guest Shelley Roll, who also performed at the Emmys. In fact, this season will feature a variety of hosts and musical acts, including Nate Bargatze and Coldplay on 5th of October, Ariana Grande with Stevie Nicks on 12th of October, Michael Keaton and Billie Eilish on 19th of October, and former SNL star John Mulaney with Chappell Roan on 2nd of November this year. Harvey Weinstein is facing a new charge of committing a criminal sex act as he awaits retrial in his high-profile Me Too case in New York. Weinstein pleaded not guilty to accusations of forcing oral sex on a woman in 2006, with details about the accuser remaining undisclosed. Weinstein has even consistently been denying any non-consensual sexual activity. He was previously convicted in 2020, but that conviction was overturned by New York's highest court in the month of April. A retrial is tentatively set for the month of November, on the 12th of November.
Obviously, if I asked any human being, like someone in 2006 is accusing you of something, let's take a guess. And it's not like it's someone who lives a life like I do, which is basically right here in the city of New York. This is Harvey Weinstein, who's been all over the country and all over the world and meets thousands of people a year. So, no, we have absolutely no clue of who we're talking about.
Now, Sian Diddy Combs will remain in custody after the judge rejected his request to await his sex trafficking trial at his Florida mansion instead of a Brooklyn federal jail. A U.S. district judge deemed Combs' proposal, which included a $50 million bail offer and strict monitoring, as insufficient to ensure community safety and the integrity of the case. Prosecutors even argued that no conditions could prevent him from threatening or harming witnesses, a key concern given by charges. As a result of charges against him, there are allegations that he abused women for years using his power and influence. Combs has been held since his arrest on Monday, with earlier bail requests also denied due to concerns about his potential danger to the community.
So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and, I believe, inhumane housing conditions. They're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that.
Now, Suki Waterhouse says that she discovered the Sacrilimifin spider during the late night stroll, and inspired her sophomore album that she has released. The album, in fact, reflects her journey through heartache and the search for love. The album was created largely when she was pregnant with her daughter. Her experience playing Karen Sirko in Daisy Jones and the Six motivated her to embrace her music career fully, leading her to reclaim labels like model and actress in songs such as Model, Actress, Whatever. She even celebrated her album's release at events like the Michelle Kors Fashion Show Week and the MTV VMAs. She expressed excitement about touring with her new upbeat songs.
A lot of my record sort of reflects on, being in this industry and how it's affected me and choices I've made and consequences and all these kinds of things. So I had all these groups of songs, and I kind of imagine myself as the Sparkle Muffin, and there's sort of like each group of songs will sort of like move through. There's like coming out of the cocoon and the detachment from reality and coming back to myself, and it all relates to the Sparkle Muffin, if you can believe it.
Antonio Maris showcased his Spring-Summer 2025 collection during Milan Fashion Week. The new collection is inspired by the life of Italian actress Anna Maria, who transitioned from Sardinia to Hollywood and had a romantic relationship with James Dean. The upbeat runway show featured swing dancers and a saxophone band and presented a summery collection that celebrated vibrant destinations. Mara's designs emphasized a festive night out. Women's silhouettes were characterized by full skirts, tight waistlines, and exaggerated shoulders. On the other hand, men's wear included bold suits and casual silky Bermuda shorts with tropical prints. Despite a joyful presentation, Maris infused a muted color palette with breathing and shimmering accents reflecting the bittersweet nature of her life and her longing for a mother's approval regarding her relationship with Dean. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Quick Morning. I'm Samisha Srivastava. Top news breaks and stories to continue after this very short break.